know, okay? Please let me know if you can hear me, okay? I want to start the video. This is kind of a Christmas present for new writers or struggling writers or beginning creative writers. So if you're a beginner at creative writing or you have no education in it and you want to know what some of us gifted or very skilled creative writers know, this is the video you need to watch. I'm going to be sharing some things that I learned. And so this is kind of a Christmas present. So feel free to take some notes. If you can hear me, please let me know. If you can hear me, please let me know. Because I can't tell unless y'all let me know. I don't want to be talking for like 30, 40 minutes and y'all can't hear me. So please let me know whether you can hear me in the chat. Say hello, say hi before we get started. I want to try to get a bunch of people in here before we get into talking about creative writing. Okay. YouTube is trying to fix my live chat, y'all. They know that something's happening to my live videos and they're trying to fix the problem. Okay, so the thing about great creative writing, all right, now before I get into that, I know some of y'all may say, well, how do we know you're a great creative writer? How do you know you're gifted? Well, I have the emails, okay? My first, my resume is very long. My first accomplishment in writing was actually a stipend. And I got it when I was 24 years old. And it was someone happened to read a short poem of mine and they actually sent my poem to a scholarship contest. And I was chosen as the featured recipient of the stipend. And I got to go all the way to Vermont, stay in a mansion. And my poem was only a couple lines long. At the time, I had no idea that I was using advanced skills in the poem. I just knew what I was doing, and I knew that something about the poem was out of this world in the quality of the poem. I knew it. I just couldn't explain it at the time. I was accessing some sort of osmosis at the time. So I am a recipient of multiple awards, Pushcart, Best of the Net, paid for my work, many publications, featured on magazines, you name it, I've done it. Only prizes I have not been nominated for or won, or because I didn't submit to, was the Pulitzer. But I plan to go for the Pulitzer, okay? And I plan to submit again for the Pushcart and the Best of the Net. So here's what I learned about creative writing. When it comes to being gifted, you have to see that nothing is mediocre. Everything is literally creative writing. Your entire life, your entire day. And this is a critical lesson that Charles Bukowski was trying to teach us. This is why he was brilliant with realizing that every single part of your life and day is creative writing. That's why writer's block don't exist. Only the fear of people not enjoying your work. That's the only thing, okay? This is why you have to write because you want to create something great, but not because you want to win people over. Because you'll always have an audience that's like, oh, I've heard better, or they're too critical of you because of your race or gender or weight, so they're picky about your literary work. You're always going to have that. So when you write, you have to write because you're determined to create a masterpiece. You have to think like Michelangelo was thinking when he did the Sistine Chapel. You have to think like Picasso was thinking when he was not using any colors when he first started. He was only focusing on structure and drawing. You have to think like you're just trying to create something of high quality. And you're trying to break rules and prove that art is distinctive. So You got to be willing to disobey the writing teachers. This is deep. You have to be willing to say you're not right the whole time. A lot of new writers are hell-bent on following all the rules. Okay? They say, oh, I can't be pretentious. Oh, I have to use punctuation. They say, oh, I can't use abstract nouns. I can't be obscure. I can't continue with one image for 2 pages. Yes, you can. You have to be willing to break rules if you're going to become a great writer. Great writers are distinctive. Their work stands out. Their work is not the same as everybody else. Okay? So you have to be willing to write your first drafts and then look at them and be like, okay, what boundaries can I cross in creative writing? What society rules can I break in here? You know, where can I be blunt at? Where can I be maybe the stereotype that everyone expects me to be in my work? See, a lot of young creative writers, they're scared to have their true voice. They're scared of judgment. They're scared that someone's going to criticize them. But you have to be willing to be true to who you are in that moment. If you say, I am a homeless person writing this poem, then you have to be willing to be that homeless person. You may have to get in full character. You may have to research that character. You have to get into that character as if it's the truth. As a matter of fact, you should not be trying to know what's true and false. If you write it, it's true. Your mind has a look at the creative writing that you do is true because you wrote it. Even if you didn't live it, okay? You have to look at this world like it's a picnic. You're using even other people's lives, overheard conversations, anything. You have to be at the point where it's like, I refuse to have a completely blank page every day of the week. I refuse. I don't care if I got to write down a conversation that I had. Writing is writing. As they say, you can't edit a blank page. So the very first thing of your day is, I just need to write something down. It doesn't even got to be good. Okay, I have to write something down. Even if I just did a catalog of things I saw. Like, for example, you can literally go through your morning. Hi, everybody. You can go through your morning and be like, oh, let me write a list of all the nouns, all the things I touched, all the things that I stared at. And then you can write, just like poet Robert Haas say, non-objectives. Non-objectives is literally like you're just telling the truth as it is. The very first draft is telling it as it is. At some point, when you have become skilled and you have practiced little techniques, your first draft will actually be pretty good. Will be like 60-70% good. But until you have practiced little techniques, you should just be like, I just need to get, I need to tell it as it is. So I'm going to give a couple examples in here, okay? For example, how many times have we went bird watching and people was like, oh, that's just a bird, and went about their way? But if you ever watch birds, like many other animals, they have human nature to them. They have been watching us too. They have been learning from us, okay? So, for example, my cat, Hansi, likes to stand next to me sometime and rub my face, okay? That could be an objective line. You rub my face. This cat, this black and gray cat rubbed my face with his white paws, soft as fresh winter socks. Okay? So I'm just freestyling, free writing. That's like one non-objective. So for me to say he rubbed my face, he gently rubbed my face, it's like, why would a cat do that? But cats do that. So it would be like me giving Hansi human nature, the fact that he rubbed my face. Here's Hansi too, y'all. He's coming over. All right. So a part of also being a great creative writer is noticing the things that other people don't notice, paying attention to a situation so closely that you see odd things that's going on. I remember one time I didn't know what I was going to write for my mentorship homework, and I just decided to write some lines that was like me doing things that I saw that was strange. Like I said this one line, I said, fan the crumbs. I fanned, with my hand, I fanned the crumbs off the table. So my mentor was like, that's pretty good, because I said I fanned. I didn't say I brushed. I said my hand fanned the crumbs from the table. So my hand is operating like a blade of a fan. And I'm not actually touching the crumbs in the table. So it's kind of, I guess, sublime in a way, but it's a refreshing line. It's something like, oh, I didn't want to touch these crumbs, but I still wanted them off the table. You see what I'm saying? So lines that kind of be like, that's weird, but hey, that's something that somebody would do. Those are the lines that publishers remember. Those are lines that sell your work. I have a line in one of my poems where I say, I tasted the season of aged leaves. Okay. Now, the leaves were like leaves off a tree, but we know leaves may be actually leaves. So depending on how somebody pronounces, someone may say, well, maybe it's leaves, like actually leaves. The aged, I didn't say crispy brown leaves, because those are adjectives. We want to use as little adjectives as possible. We can use some to break the rules, but we don't want to overdo it, because then we're getting into glitter. What's happening is you're not showing that you can tell it slant. So when I said aged leaves, that was me telling it slant. Instead of saying brown old leaves, I said aged. I taste the aged leaves. I experimented with assonance. So what you want to do is you want to have a couple of fun things on your list to use. 2 techniques. I say don't add no more until you've been writing for a couple of months. Okay, just use 2 techniques. Say I'm going to add assonance in the edit version, and I'm going to add repetition. That's it. What you'll realize is some other techniques will come out naturally as you're editing the work without even trying to add techniques. You'll notice that in stream of consciousness, in some parts of your outline of your work when you're editing, all these other techniques come out that you didn't even know you could do. But you need purposeful writing of 2 techniques at least. Okay? As I said, other techniques in your creative writing is going to show up and you not even know that it's there, because you learned it somehow through just reading literature. But you want 2 that you purposely used. Instead of trying to learn a bunch of literary devices from the start, gradually learn, like every month, 2 literary devices. Just think by the end of the year, you will have learned like 30, 50, 40 literary devices. Within 1 year, you will probably be an expert at all these different literary devices if you were using them almost on a weekly basis. But start off using 2. In my short poem, The Year After I Buried You, about my father, that I wrote for a homework assignment at the poetry school online, when I edited that poem, I was just focusing on telling it slant. If you don't know what telling it slant can be noticing something odd or different, or something that's celebrated about something that other people wouldn't notice. So there's this famous line, this popular line from another writer's work, and he says, "The great wings beating still." So his original write of that line probably was this bird in the air, lingering in the air, wings not moving. That probably was his first line. His edited line was great. He was thinking of the size of the wings, greatness. Then he probably said beating. He was thinking of the wings going like this, like a heartbeat. He got into the rhythm and the sound of the wings. He internalized the bird. He literally got into the bird's body. As great writers, we have to step inside the things that we're writing about so that we will really get to know some parts about them that we can't see from the outside. Things about their nature and how they're moving that we cannot see. So he probably got into the bird, the body of the bird. He probably was in persona, and then he realized the wings are beating like a heartbeat. The wings are going like that. So that's why he said beating. And then he probably was thinking of how the bird at some point just kind of kept the wings open for a minute. So beating still. Or he could have got into, there's a silent beat of the wings that we can't hear, but we only see the wings still, like in the air. So what I'm saying is you have to do little sketches, learning how to tell a slant. Once you learn how to tell a slant, your work gets better really quick. Like your work will be like good. Okay. Tell a slant is not easy for people who are critical of things, who are not observing closely. You have to really watch a lot, like Bill Collins talk about. It's a whole lot of watching. And I have this, for example, I have this piece of coral that I stepped on and when I was at the beach, and it has a shell in it. Now I had this coral, and I had been staring at this coral for months, y'all. For months. And then one day I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to celebrate it. So I decided to get into first how I found the coral. Okay. So I looked at this beautiful thing flipping me backwards, throwing me down into the dark, the deep dark blue. Okay. So that could be a line in my palm. At first touch, you tripped me up and you threw me backwards into the deep dark blue. That would be the sea, rather me just saying the sea. Okay. My world disappeared without a sign that it was going to, like smoke do sometime. It's there and then it's gone. Like beauty does. Like some old lady would say about her beauty if she doesn't have anyone. You know, if she's not married, she may say, my beauty, it was there, then it's gone. You know? So like death and like life. Even when we can tell the difference. So just letting your mind flow, seeing how far an experience with something can take you. Great writing comes from writers who are opinionated, writers who want to visually teach a lesson, unless you're doing prose. But if you're doing like even novels, short story, poetry, then you're trying to visually teach a lesson. about something, whether it's about a sense of place. So I say if you're a new writer, the very first thing you should start is just writing about places. Go into a room and just sketch, okay? Believe it or not, writers sketch too. They're just sketching with words. Words are like little strokes to to someone who draws or to a painter. You have to look at your words no different than a stroke of a painting. And as all the words come together, then the dream is manifested, just like strokes of a painting. So when you choose words to build sentences, you're basing them on emotions. Okay? You have to know what emotion and what color or colors that emotion could belong to. And then that is how you edit your image. Okay? I'm kind of just giving y'all some little gems in here. Now, if you're like totally new at creative writing, totally inexperienced, I recommend getting some elementary type outlines. And don't look at it like, oh, that's childish. Because as Hemingway said, you have to be kind of elementary writing to even access great writing. So elementary writing actually helps you to access symbolism and not know you're doing it. But you want to get some elementary outlines. You want to get something like this or my book, okay, or my book on the craft of poetry. So if you'd like to buy my book for beginners and advanced poets, please email me and I will tell you the fee. The fee for my book is $10, and I will send you the link to read it at my VIP site all the way until the new year. Okay? So I'm talking about my book on the craft of poetry. But this book here is one I find is really good for very new writers. I mean, people that have never written ever or just really not, who think they're not good at it. Okay? Now, one thing I like to do when I'm not writing, like physically writing, but I want to practice my writing brain, I will take a body of work and I will rewrite it. Now, if it's public domain work or work over 70 years old, then I can actually publish it. But if it's work that's not, then I can't publish it. I could just look at it like it was a practice session. So, for example, it says dreaming up a place. Okay. Now, they say dreaming up a place. You can actually change that word, or you can say, let's see how they say a place I know. I wouldn't have said a place I know. I would have said a picture I know. Because a picture can be a place. A dream can be a place. I find that a place I know is very elementary title. It's like, it's not slant. So I would replace the word place with picture. A picture I know. That's how I would have done it. Writers, we nitpick over the original words that we chose. We question, are they original? Does it sound like anybody can think of this line? We ask those type of questions, and then we decide whether to edit the line. Okay. Now, I would even change that word. I would say a picture I remember. Because picture, remember, it has consonant sound in it and assonance. Picture, remember. So I would say a picture I remember. So that the title is also creatively written. But their title is very plain because this is probably it's an 11-year-old. This person is 11 years old. So, I'm not going to be hard on them. But if I was the writing teacher, I would have told them to see what happens to replace the nouns. Replace some of the words. Okay, replace the word I, with actually eyeball. A place I remember. And see how your title is. That's what I would have told this 11-year-old. Um, all right, so whoever wrote this book is probably a writing, probably, yeah. Now here's the thing. I'm not saying this isn't a quality piece, but if this publisher was going to publish this poem, then my work, if I submitted to this publisher, would be like very advanced to this publisher. So I probably wouldn't submit to this publisher because it wouldn't be unfair to the more amateur writers in this. It wouldn't be much competitive submission process. So I personally wouldn't submit because they're celebrating new writers more in this, as you can tell. I love the art though. I love the art with it. I don't think I would have chose a tree, but they chose a tree because the word is in their poem. See, that would be predictable. I would have chose because the I is in their title and I is here. It's a repeated word technically through the revision of the line of the title. Then I probably would have put a bunch of eyes as like dream. You know, like a dream. Like when you're dreaming, you can have multiple dreams in one night, which could be like multiple sites. So I would probably would have put an I there, I there, I there. Since I is in her piece, and the sound of I is in there, sky, plus, if it was in the title. Okay. She could have broke the rules with the title. It could have been a picture I with the actual word I. That would have been her breaking the rules. And it would have showed the publisher that she's willing to take risk and that she's trying to be unique and distinctive in the way she's phrasing her lines. But she's only 11 years old. So she's trying, she's in the beginning stage. Yeah. So she says, illusion drift before my eyes. Now I'm showing how, if you're a new writer, how reworking other people's work will teach you how to think like an editor think. Like, I'm learning the appreciation of editing, because I personally believe the real writing begins in the editing, not on the first draft. First draft is you just getting the basic manifestation out of you. Now, if you are someone that write very slowly and purposeful, then your first draft could actually be your second draft, like mine. My first draft is normally my second draft. Because I don't care about how much I write. I always care about how slow and steady and purposeful I write on my first draft. So you just basically take a short poem of someone else's, and you just rework it. So she says, illusions drift before my eyes. Okay. We know that several things can be illusions, magic tricks. Because she says drift, she could have said magic tricks drift before my eyes. Okay. We know that dreams is magical. So illusions is okay, but it doesn't really serve the sound that's in the line. Illusions drift before my eyes. Magic tricks drift before my eyes, a hand with many fingers. Now she could have said, when she said illusion, she could have said a hand with 1,000 illusions, a hand with 1,000 stems. If she has another sound in there, she could have stacked her sound. She could have celebrated sound within the lines and not just at the end with her rhymes. She was just going rhyme, instead of thinking about the words that's in the middle of the sentences. So, when we worked on her, she could have said, how can I tell this another way? Great writers are like, how many different ways I can tell this piece? How many? Is there at least two other ways I could write this piece? How slanted, how hard but clear can I write it? Like poet Amy Lau says, how hard but clear. This is not hard. It is clear, but it's not hard. Okay? Publishers want you to show that you can bend their mind. You can bend them. Prize winning pieces are kind of like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Oh, okay, I understand it. Prize winning pieces make readers deep dive in translation. It's not instant gratification of understanding. When you're an amateur writer, it's instant gratification of understanding of the work. When you reach advanced, it's like you're not going to understand it so easy. Okay? I'm going to say something out of nowhere in the next line that kind of catches you off guard. Great work has the element of surprise. When you're editing your work, you're thinking of, how can I add the element of surprise? Magicians are like, you didn't see that coming. So when you're editing your work, you want to ask, can my readers say they saw that coming? Was it predictable? Would they have heard this line other places? A hand with many fingers. That anyone can say that, okay? But what else can a hand be? What else can a hand be? When have you saw something that looked like a hand? Great writers ask, have I seen this image as something else before? Before I just accept this on my first draft. Okay? So I would have wrote that line where it says a hand with many fingers. Here's another way of writing it. I would have created a metaphor. I would have made that hand a reverse persona. I would have made that hand something in nature. Okay? And I would have gave the word fingers a verb instead of a noun. See? That would have been me like literally changing the line, but having the same image, but giving a different feel to the line. So instead of fingers, I would have said something else. I have a line in my head, but I'm not going to share it. You got to be very careful sharing your great lines publicly, because people will take them without giving credit. Okay, so just to rewind on the lessons. Great writers are opinionated. They have opinions. If you're a poet, you start your work like you're picking up a conversation. John Drury has a book on the craft of writing poetry. It's called Creating Poetry. It's a wonderful book to teach you how to create poetry. It's like going to school for poetry for 7 years. Okay, that book is like you're trying to get your PhD in poetry. But if you break each chapter down like it's a course that you're taking for the month, you'll get really good at writing poetry by the time you're done with the book. But John Drury has a chapter in his book where he talks about telling a slant and how to begin a poem. So if you're a poet, and also you can do it with prose pieces. Like you're picking up a conversation. A lot of new poets are not doing that. And they don't understand that alone is making the work not enjoyable to readers and publishers. So when you pick up a conversation, there's 3 different ways to do it. You can use a statement, a question, or a demand. Or you can state in an extra opinion of what the person said, or expand on what they said. Okay? You can actually pick up a conversation starting with the word and keep saying and, writing lines starting with and. You want to write your work no different than the way you would speak. It has to have a natural rhythm to it. It can't sound like false speaking. So 3 writers that have wonderful lessons on writing, I recommend looking up is poet Amy Lau, Hemingway, and Walt Whitman has a wonderful quote where he talks about writing about the thing that haunts you or that you've been obsessing over. So let's say you have nothing to write about. If you've been journaling, then you know what you're supposed to be writing about, because in your journal are things that you are haunted by and obsessed with. So let's say that you're obsessed with society, toxicity in society, then that could be what you write about. Okay, you could write a 10-page book of poems that's about every conversation you had about society. Get the first drafts done and then look into editing it with techniques. Their great poems are also every kind of conversation you could possibly have out here. They're even an apology. You can write a poem that's only an apology. You can write creative pieces that jump through all type of time periods and about distant scenes, inward scenes, scenes behind you, different viewpoints, seeing how a bird, seeing how an owl. Great writing can be like the mind of an owl. An owl can turn his head and write from what's behind, see what's behind. An owl can see close and far. Okay, so if you're like, I just want to be able to write a short piece once a day, try writing a short piece, okay, about something that's happening right now, something that you remember possibly happening at this time or in that space, or that you imagine, and write about something you would do after it. So that would be 3 stanzas. If you're a new writer, get out of your head about how many word counts. Publishers are not even that picky about word count unless it's like a novel or fiction, but then they still have a word count range. Any other work other than prose, fiction, and novel writing, the shorter, the better. Publishers love to see that you can show off your writing skills in as little words as possible. So there is a course, I think you can still take it. It's on IY University online. It's a MOOC course, MOOC course. And it is how writers write poetry. And there is a part of that course that is like having you practice writing a couple lines. So I recommend reading the work of William Carlos to get you started with just appreciating writing a couple lines on the page. Once you get really good at just writing a couple lines on the page, couplets or little verse lines, then you can get into like, oh, let me see if I can expand on what I wrote. I find that just like, for me, I like to know what I'm feeling, what emotions that I'm dwelling on. So I've been thinking a lot about the word tired. Okay. And I didn't think about different images that represent the word tired. So it could be anything. It could be a conversation, crashing and burning within seconds. It's the same conversation. Okay, so even if I'm not exactly right on my emotion, my muse is never wrong when turning to another emotion. Now, here, another thing about I learned, figuring out your muse. Okay, your muse has a nature to it that would trigger ideas that come to your mind and in your memory to surface. So it's important to get to know your muse. Your muse is deeply connected, strongly connected to environments that have given you power or that have brought out the best in you energetically with power. So if you know those, and it can be food too. Your muse is connected to your food. Your muse is connected to environments that bring out the best in you. And your muse is connected to exercises and activities that bring out the best in you. Once you know your muse, you kind of know where your ideas, where your mind can access idea, creative energy in a certain area. You'll know then, okay? So I highly recommend that you do a poetry writing exercise where you say, my muse prefer. So if you don't have anything to write about today, consider writing about what your muse prefer. Who is your muse? Okay. And then you can write a couple words down that is your muse. What do your muse like? What don't she like? Okay. My muse prefer this instead of that. My muse prefer this place and this food and this company and this conversation. Your muse can be you and somebody else. Like for me, my muse can often be like me, and at times my muse can be my mom, and other times like a mixture of me and my mom, or a mixture of me and someone's work that I read a lot. So Bill Collins can be my muse. So I can read his work, get to know Bill Collins through his work, and then I can add his personality and life choices to my muse, who I am, and then create a piece representing just one muse, the combination of me and Bill Collins. So Bill Collins have a poem that I think is a wonderful poem to practice writing every day, because you literally can do this poem like 1,000 times. He has a poem called The Genius. And I recommend all new writers to create an outline using his work. Now here's what I'm going to say. You can't expect to be a great writer if you don't know elementary writing. You should know your verbs, nouns, adjectives, adverbs. You should know what all those are. So you should be able to create outlines based upon the verbs, verbs, adverbs, nouns that the writer used. You should be able to create outlines and pronouns based upon what they used, and then you just replace it following the outline. Okay? So Bill Collins' poem, The Genius, I could extract his outline, and then I could easily write countless poems on that outline. Okay? Of course, changing some parts of it where I want to change it, you know? But I can have my muse be in that outline, in that poem, but the muse is a combination of Bill Collins and me in that poem. All right, so that's a nice little poetry prompt. If you don't have any, if you don't have anything to write about, pick up a conversation starting with "and." Okay. So let's say somebody say something about Michelle Obama. You say and just write as many lines starting with "and" to finish what the person should have said, should have finished saying. Like finish with someone saying. Try that. That'll get you writing for the day. The thing is, the longer you go without writing, the more your muse is like, I don't know what to write about, and you actually start to have this disconnection, spiritual disconnection with your muse. So writing just 10, 15 minutes a day is better than not at all. Even if you have nothing new to write, you can always, as I said, rework other work. You can always edit something that you wrote already. Say, how can I say this another way? How can I change the nouns and the verbs? Maybe I could write another piece the same way I wrote my last piece. Dedicated writers have countless ways to get writing. If you're like, I just want to start writing, if you need to write again, you need to get a book that's going to give you actual exercises to use to write. So this book does. Now, and I know some of y'all saying, but I'm not a poet. Poetry is in everything. Novels, fiction, prose, whatever. So it's not about like you needing to be a poet to use these books. It's about the fact that you're getting something on the page that you can always add to another genre type of writing. You can always add those lines to other writing. I have an endless amount of writing. I have so much writing. I have 2 USBs full of writing. I have 2 writing Google accounts full of writings. I have so much literary work that I have thousands. I have written as much as Charles Bukowski. And once I just say once I even just find a theme that I love, I'm writing on it for months, daily. So I say, if I don't feel like writing, I'll just pull up something that I wrote. But here's what I've learned about being an experienced writer. For every couple pieces that you edit and didn't write that day, you eventually have to write something new, because you're letting your well go dry, and you don't want to do that. So let's say you edit work only for 3 days. On the 4th, 5th day, you probably should write a couple new lines. That way your well don't go dry. You always have something to work with, even if you're not in the mood to write something new. Journaling will always give you something new to write about. I find that even if I take a month off from doing some actual writing, if I've been journaling, I still have written. I still have some material to work with. It's not about having a lot of material from your journal to work with. It's about having something to work with, whether it's one line in your work. Okay? All right. I do private mentoring. I graduated from mentorships and from writing courses from the Poetry Kid Online. I am qualified to mentor you in writing poetry. So if you'd like to write poetry for an affordable price, you can take my mentorship. Or you can buy my book on the craft of writing poetry. My book got 5 stars. Someone actually stole my book somehow off Amazon and sold it and made a lot of money off of it. I had to unpublish it on Amazon so that the person couldn't just keep going back and getting copies. So I'm actually re-editing the book to be multiple books because I'm extending each chapter. But if you want to buy the book as it originally was written, my book on the craft of writing poetry for beginners and advanced poets, please email me. My book is $10, and I will send you the VIP link to read the book at least till New Year's. And after that, you'll have to buy it on Amazon because I'm going to be putting it back on Amazon starting the new year, but as a series, extended series. Okay? As I said, if you never know what to write about, you want to get something that has exercises. If you're not inspired to write, and you want to follow the exercises. So, for example, okay, here, like this one, it says, write 2 descriptions of the same place. All right. You can always go on public domain website and get some pictures of places to use to write and do this exercise. Okay. So they even have this book here, see, style exercises. All right. Look at it like you got to cook. You know, every day you got to feed yourself. Every day you got to feed your soul. Whether it's one little meal, you know, you don't have to be like Stephen King where you're like having a gourmet buffet meal. You know, he's writing 10,000 words a day. Stephen King is literally laying out a buffet for his muse. You know, he's giving us a buffet. You don't got to do that. You know, but you do got to feed your spirit creatively daily. If you're a writer, then just do a little exercise. So this is a fun exercise that I plan on doing, and I was experimenting with. This one right here in the Poetry Gymnasium book, I find this to be about drawing a picture of a house. So the fact that you use drawing and writing is wonderful. So drawing a picture of a house and then writing your scenes and then arranging the scenes to fit in certain rooms of the house according to their mood, emotion, and nature. So their poem, they say, we stopped on a cliffside entrance or doorway. So notice they say we stopped. Maybe you can start yours with we ran or we prayed, okay? We crept. So at my mother's funeral, we crept to the edge of my mother's grave, okay? We crept to the edge of my mother's grave. Not so into the edge where the wind could push us in, but close enough where we could feel the air coming up out the grave. That's deep, okay? I'm just free writing. Free writing. We can smell the fresh soil below. Okay? So that would be my opening line, opening stanza. Okay? All right. It was a type of grave. It was a type of grave, and maybe I can remember, I can return to my mother's grave so I can get more of the scene. Okay? Now, here is another scene. It says, they say my car was so long. All right? I could say the line of my blood was so long. Even the faces of it. Y'all. Child. The stems of the roses. Okay. As if they had been taken right out of the ground. Y'all, this is wild. Okay, I love these lines I'm coming up. I can't wait to replay this video to use some of my lines for my new poem. So then that was a brief sketch of a second stanza. Then I can go to my third stanza and write another stanza. Now this one starts, you got out. I could say about my sister and her husband. Okay. My sister with her new husband, it was supposed to be her first husband. My sister was with her husband. My sister with her love, who was supposed to be her first love. But another love got between. Okay? I'm slanting the line and saying husband. Okay? So I'd say that they walked. Okay? So I could say how they walked. You know, I don't want to give so much of my original lines out. But then there's the next stanza. Down Maybe I can go like distant view. Okay. In the distance, the hearse. Okay. The hearse looked wet. The hearse was moist looking. And then I could just go. I got so many lines coming to me, y'all. I'm trying to keep them all. So as I get all the stanzas and the different views, I'm seeing like a bird see up close, in front of me, behind me, maybe in a memory of what happened before this at my mother's grave. I'm just adding these different scenes. But before I did this, I drew a house, okay, all the rooms of a house, and I named them. So then when I'm done with these scenes, even before I edit the scenes, I'm going to place them in certain rooms of this house according to their emotion. So my opening stanza where I talk about my mom, where I talk about us at the edge, um, I could literally say that could be that could actually be the bathroom, because the bathroom is a place where something is released. Or I can let that be maybe, no, it's not dining room because we're not eating. It's not it's stairway. Yeah, it could be the stairway. So my opening stanza could be the stairway. But it's going to be in a different place in the poem. That stanza is going to be different according to how I drew the room. Okay. All right. If you haven't, there's a lot of people that have trouble paying attention to this video because a lot of people got brain rot. A lot of people aren't trying to think deep anymore. A lot of people are not even trying to be creative. I think creativity is going to be what saves this world. People are thinking the socializing a lot is doing it. It's time to get back to creativity. If you haven't been writing, you're a writer. Take a course, get some writing done. That'll save you money using people for therapy or using people online as unpaid therapists. It's almost like people are choosing to get people to be unpaid therapists instead of creativity. And creativity is a good way to get longevity. Like creativity, writing can save you. It really can. It's always there to use. You can always find a pen. There's always something you can write on. And it's free. Just think about it. It's free. It's free for everybody now. Okay? You're not going to jail for just writing something down unless it's written on other people's property. So instead of dumping all your thoughts on these apps, consider dumping them in journals and things like that. Okay, y'all. So this was my Christmas gift. It was a video just helping y'all out. This video is not going to be available for replay for free. I'm going to be moving this video to my new channel. So if you didn't get to watch this whole video, you can replay this video for $5. If you send $5 to my Cash App, I will send you the link to watch this video from the start. My Cash App is $coachvhunter my Cash App is $coachvhunter. Or you can send the $5 to my PayPal. Once again, this video will not be for free for replay. Please look in the community news for announcements of my upcoming books. My book for discovering your life purpose and destiny, it is available to be purchased, to be read through my VIP link. The book is $8. So you can send $8 to my Cash App for my book, once again, on finding your life purpose and your destiny. in a non-traditional and traditional way, because there's a non-traditional way in there too. You can email me and I will send you the VIP link to the book. This is after, once again, after you have sent $8 to my Cash App or my PayPal. The book will only be available on my VIP site, my private site. It will only be available until the new year. After the new year, you'll have to buy my book on Finding Your Destiny. You'll have to buy it on Amazon. So I highly recommend that you buy it now, okay? Some of y'all start new goals, new projects today or for the new year. I highly recommend that you get my book on Finding Your Life Purpose and Your Destiny. I am expanding on it. Once it gets on Amazon, it's going to have a whole nother part added to it. But right now, in the beta release, in the beta version, you can read it for $8. Bye, everybody. I'll see y'all later. Please check the community news for announcements of my upcoming poetry books as well and other publications I am doing. Also, I will be posting an announcement on my upcoming channel. Okay? If you want to follow my literary life, follow me as a writer, I'm starting a new channel that's strictly for my writing life. It's not going to be like a whole lot of teaching, but it'll be like maybe a 5-minute lesson added to every part of my resume. I'm starting a literary channel, an art channel for my visual art and literary art resume. I'm trying to keep track of it on YouTube. So look for the announcements for that channel. Bye, everybody. See y'all later.